Hi, and welcome to Thursday Comics. I'm Tom Scioli, author of Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics. I Am Stan, a graphic biography of the legendary Stan Lee. And Jack Kirby's Star Warriors, The Adventures of Adam Star and the Solar Legion. I'm also the author of WITCHMAN, a new superhero comic, which just recently had a successful Kickstarter. So we're continuing Thor's epic space adventure. And even though in the early issues of Thor, particularly the first issue, he fought aliens. I think this is his first, this and the previous issue are his first space odyssey. He's gone to sort of mythic space. He's gone to Asgard and Olympus and to Hell, to the Netherworld. But I don't think he's ever gotten in a spaceship and gone to another planet. So this is kind of treading new ground for the character, and it's a good look. Some superheroes, when they go into space, it's not quite the perfect fit, but for some reason, it's a good look for Thor. Maybe it's that contrast between his mythic backstory and high science fiction. So this is issue 132, Where Gods May Fear to Tread. Brilliant cover. The Mighty Thor, Riel, Where Gods May Fear to Tread. And yeah, that Where Gods May Fear to Tread, it sounds like, the title to one of those 1950s Douglas Sirk movies. And with these comics, it seems like you always get a nice little encapsulated bit getting you up to speed with what's been happening so far, which I think is necessary for a comic that is, at this point, fully committed to serialization, to this ongoing soap opera, in a way that the entire line of comics become committed to that for the remainder of the history of this company, even to the present day. There's a brief moment in the late 60s where an edict comes down, possibly from Martin Goodman, that there's not going to be any more continued stories. You're gonna wrap everything up in one issue. A reaction against the way the entire line had gone completely into like a serialized territory, but that's only a brief moment, and then pretty soon they're back to the never-ending soap opera, which has come to characterize Marvel and the entire superhero industry, for good or ill. I have overpowered the two alien beings within this ship, but now we approach their home world, the mysterious Rigel. A voice from the strange object floating before me. It is like an earthly toll booth, guarding the route to Rigel. That's kind of a nice way to, help you contextualize this, incredibly impressive but, very alien-looking object. Another, beautiful drawing from Kirby, just so inventive, just, creating one world after another. But I must reach Rigel to destroy the space lock, which is now menacing all of mankind. Astonishing script, Stan Lee. Awesome artwork, Jack Kirby. Artful delineation, Vince Colletta. Amazing lettering, Sam Rosen. Alien translations, Irving Forbush. In the previous issue, Thor defeated the two guys who were flying this spaceship. We can observe that you are not one of our colonizers. Therefore, you must be an enemy. I command thee to remove the space lock from the planet Earth, or suffer my boundless wrath. Kind of sets up the conflict that's going to be going on for the remainder of this issue. And so they send another super cool looking spaceship. And also like the colors, 60s comic book coloring just makes this world alive and just so vibrant in a way that you don't really see in the Marvel movies, because with very few exceptions, there's not really like a commitment to any sort of referencing of this sort of color, except for maybe, fittingly enough, Thor Ragnarok was the one installment of those movies that really have this commitment to color. And then you have something like Captain America Winter Soldier, which is an excellent movie, but is practically a black and white movie. I mean, that it's been so like thoroughly desaturated in terms of color. They create a little a bridge of ion-packed atoms, a little airlock, cosmic airlock for them to sort of walk across into the spaceship. Just loving every second of this comic. Thor throws his hammer, and then these guys repel it. These Rigelian colonizers look like they'd be pushovers, but they're definitely not. Form a group mind defense. Combine mind thrusts now. It is so done. And so they stop the the hammer and set it on fire. And then the hammer comes back to Thor. Turn off the space lock is basically what he's demanding they do. And now we cut back to Earth to see what Tana Nile is up to, the Rigelian colonizer who has claimed Earth and former roommate of Jane Foster and, sort of the cause of all this trouble in the first place. And we get one of those scenes where some, sort of highfalutin, cosmic stuff is going on, and then they come face to face with, a New Yorker, in this case, a police officer. In this case, a police officer who, thinks, again, it's become a running joke. In this instance, Tana Nile is, just some sort of publicity stunt or weirdo. What in the name of J. Edgar Hoover is that? Begging your pardon, lady, if that's what you are. Are you looking for something? You may address me as Empress, for I am your new sovereign, Tana the First. Why do I get all the kooks and oddballs on my beat? Glad to meet you, Empress. Naturally. Would you like me to take you to our leader? Indeed, that is exactly what I had in mind. Most of them just think they're Napoleon, but this one's got one-upsmanship. Of course, some may not believe that Earth is now in my control. Yeah, Empress, that's a real distinct possibility. So this is another thing that is sort of an innovation that's becoming part of the formula, the Marvel formula, and becomes practically enshrined and sets it apart from other comics of the time. Now, our Indestructible shall reach the invader within seconds. So now they're sending out the Indestructible, a very impressive looking, powerhouse robot, at a time when just a couple months ago, Jack's creating Galactus and the Silver Surfer, and now we're getting this guy, the Indestructible. Now, the Indestructible does not have an afterlife after this issue the way Silver Surfer and Galactus do. I mean, he looks, again, like a heavily armored Darkseid almost. The reason I would suggest why we don't see any more of him after this is his personality. He speaks like a 1950s robot. I must destroy the creature from the distant solar system. All other commands have been erased. So, I mean, I like that in this issue and the next issue, they come up with different ways of having these characters talk to set them apart. They have different, verbal styles. And so this is another one. It's just not, it's a little bit, corny and sort of a dead end for this very cool looking and powerful character. So he shows up at the ship, has this blast thing that thins out the atoms. He walks through and now he's face to face with Thor, who's got these guys sort of working for him now. Now, really nice little fight scene here. He grabs Thor's arm. There's and he's way stronger than Thor could have anticipated. Big punch. He's whirling up his hammer to sort of build up a power punch. There was a point where I was trying to get work at Marvel and at the same time just at my own sort of curiosity trying to do sort of Kirby style artwork with like Frank Miller style layouts. And so I did a couple pages sort of borrowing from this sequence, and here they are. And he hits him with that critical mass building up, like you'd build up in a video game where you like hold the button down and your punch charges up and then you let go and it's huge, but it's not enough to stop him. He's still going. Thor does the thing of, okay, if nothing I can do can hurt you, I'll turn your own weapon against you. And then that does the trick. And then we never see the Indestructible again, at least on Jack's watch. I mean, maybe there was somebody in like the 70s, 80s, 90s, early 2000s, 2010s, or maybe even the 2020s who've brought this guy back. But Kirby's constantly moving forward. So this guy's yesterday's news by the time we get to the end of this issue. So now he's got these two guys working for him. He's fully demonstrated his superiority to this, Rigelian civilization. Now we're seeing some other spaceship getting destroyed. So Kirby designs this really cool spaceship and destroys it immediately. Just this generosity of imagination that Jack Kirby has. And it's from the Black Galaxy, that there's something in the Black Galaxy that's destroying spaceships. And it's being teased. We're going to find out what it is. In The Coming of Galactus, Jack really hit on this, really great formula of like building up an enemy, hearing about some mysterious, powerful something or other, and seeing its effects, but not seeing it until the final page so that, it's real built up in your mind. And so he's repeating that here to great effect. Now we're meeting the Grand Commissioner of Rigel, the sort of, supreme Rigelian, super cool little command center, would make an amazing toy. I'm surprised we haven't gotten this yet. Rigelian colonizers and their little command center looking over the damage. And he's got an idea how to deal with two problems. He's got this problem in the Black Galaxy that is, destroying his spaceships. And then he's got this Thor guy who's on his way over there to cause a lot of trouble. So he's going to solve them both with but one stone. So he steps in this teleporter to get, down to the surface with his crew. This middle thing that would have broken up the panel. I guess maybe if this bit of verbiage wasn't sort of unifying these two panels, you'd get more of a, okay, he's here and now he's here, and then coloring this gray in the middle. By coloring that gray in the middle and not having like a clear separation between panels, it just looks like he's basically walking through a glowing door as opposed to, teleporting from one place to another. And now he's there to greet Thor. Thor gets, pulled in with a tractor beam, Star Wars style, except yanked out of the spaceship, which is kind of cool. He's kicking all kinds of ass, just like, basically the moment that we see on the cover. The same way he trashed the Netherworld 2 issues ago, he's trashing Rigel. The Grand Commissioner, tells him, wait a second, let's have a little bit of peace. I have a challenge for you. We have the Black Galaxy, and that is what ye Rigelians so desperately fear. Indeed, Thunder God, you behold the Black Galaxy. Though we are able to accurately chart it from the outside, no Rigelian has even seen the inside and lived to tell of it. In truth, it is the most mysterious, the most deadly area in all of the known universe. Each day it grows more powerful, more threatening. Soon it will break out of its shadowy confines, and when it does, nothing that lives, nothing in the universe, including Earth, will be safe. Enough talk, I shall enter the Black Galaxy, so speaks Thor. You shall leave immediately, accompanied by a recorder, to record whatever you learn, in case you never return. The Grand Commissioner's plan has worked. If he was telling the truth to Thor, or not, Thor is convinced that the menace in this Black Galaxy is a menace to Earth as well. So he has to go take care of this. Maybe hoping Thor will get killed by whatever it is in the Black Galaxy, and then he'll solve his problem. But whether that's his plan or not, he agrees to release Earth from the space lock if Thor goes on this mission for him. And Thor agrees. And now we cut back to Jane Foster, and before, she got on a bus, she was trying to get as far away as she can. Now she's on an airplane, and before she was on the bus, she had like a woman next to her who was asking her where she's going, what's up. Now she's sitting next to this guy on the plane who has like a very interesting look, which will, play out in the next couple of issues. Not quite sure why she's going away, but she has to, because it was a command from Tana, Nile. And now Thor's in here with one of my favorite Kirby characters, the Recorder, who again has his own special way of talking, which I don't think begins until next issue. And the way he's drawn here, he won't really look like this ever again. In the next issue, he's going to look pretty different. He's got sort of the physique of the Rigelian colonizers, these very like thin limbs, and maybe not as large a head, but sort of a larger head. In the next issue, he sort of has, sort of like, Silver Surfer proportions, like, just sort of standard Jack Kirby cosmic hero proportions. So now they're approaching the Black Galaxy. Pretty cool watching it sort of, swirl and darken. Already the Stygian darkness looms ahead, blotting out the comforting glow of 1,000 stars. And you can see how dark it's getting. They're all in shadow. Like, this is something like in science fiction. I feel like I've seen it in a lot of Battlestar Galactica episodes where you get to some like dark area of space where there's just like space gets even darker. There's no stars, nothing. There's all these strange forms. I compute that we are within an incredible universe composed of living biological matter. No, it is not a universe. It is far more fantastic. It is actually a bioverse. A bioverse? And, Jack Kirby's talked about this, the bioverse and the Black Galaxy, that he had this idea of like there's a part of space that gets denser and denser and denser until space almost becomes like a liquid, like a black liquid. It's like living. It's kind of like, Fantastic Voyage or something. Now we're inside some like larger organism or organisms. Out there, that is the objective we seek, the menace, which makes even colonizers tremble. So we know there's some horrible threat out there that we've seen in this issue and a little bit in the previous issue, but we haven't really gotten any hints about what it is exactly. And now we're about to find out and get our minds blown. I have been waiting for you. I am Ego. Next issue, The Living Planet. So far, maybe the best use of a Jack Kirby collage. Making it, the entire page and using it as a way of introducing a new adversary, a new character, a new cosmic character, and making it seem, completely alien. So he is Ego, the living planet. And this is his introduction. And Jack will draw Ego a bunch of times, and Jack Kirby's Ego drawing is very impressive and very cool. But this is like kind of a really neat way to introduce a character like this. It's, again, if the reproduction were better, that would be even better. And the original art of this still exists, so you can see what Jack's collage looked like. Much more impressive in full resolution. But again, even the kind of the extreme haze and soft focus of these images does add a certain mystery and mystique to them. So big thumbs up here. We are in high Kirby territory. We're part of the way through just like an amazing run of some of the greatest comics ever made. And Ego the Living Planet, kind of like this giant face on a celestial object, a planet in this case, reminiscent of one of the first movies ever made, a Trip to the Moon, I think it's called, based on the Jules Verne story. You see a little face on the moon, and then the rocket kind of lands right in his eye. Just a little bit of like whimsical comedy in the movie. Jack's taking that and making it deadly serious and very, very cool. And now, Tales of Asgard, the Dark Horse of Death. And so this story with Harokin, the barbarian, if this were any other installment of Tales of Asgard, we'd be done. We'd be on to the next story already. But it's having this extended epilogue, going into territory that usually in comics is just like, okay, the end, we're done. And this is where it gets interesting. This is where it deepens. If it was just another story of Thor and his buddies defeating a bad guy, that would be one thing. But now we're getting into just like an interesting territory, metaphysical territory, and seeing the characters in those sort of in-between moments. So they've conquered the barbarian horde, and now they're trying to figure out what comes next, and they're washing up. When Volstagg bathes, he stays in his union suit. But a short time later, as the matchless warriors take their well-earned rest, the slow, mournful beat of the muffled drum issues forth from the defeated barbarians. What foul infamy is this? Do they dare summon their forces against us once more? Which would be sort of like a more typical, melodrama. Sort of just, okay, we're just continuing this story of fighting barbarians. But no. Nay, Volstagg, 'tis the drumbeat of mourning thou dost hear, not the clarion call to combat. Well do I know that ominous drumbeat. It summons the great black stallion of doom. It means the death of a mighty warrior is near at hand. Some like really cool kind of stuff, of the sort of, traditions of these barbarian horde. And they're calling the drumbeat, calling the stallion of death, this sort of embodiment of death. And it seems to be sort of like this supernatural horse that has a supernatural intelligence, and everybody's terrified of it. He hath passed me by, the gods be praised. The fearful flee before the mighty ebony stallion. while those of stouter heart stand fast. Yet each man knows that the beast will stop before one warrior, the one who is fated to die. I must flee. I cannot peer into those blazing eyes. Flight is useless. What is to be is to be. This sort of, metaphysical horse, this, death horse. And maybe even kind of like those cats that you hear about who can sense when somebody's about to die and then kind of, curl up with them. And then that's the next person to die. And so Thor has a suspicion of who he thinks might, the Black Stallion of Death might be looking for. And it's Hurricane. His fight with Hurricane, Thor didn't realize it, but he sort of, dealt him a death blow, like the dark horse of death. So he has come at last. Though we jousted with great vigor, I did not think I had injured thee thus severely. 'Twas not thy doing alone, son of Odin. I have waged many battles in many lands, and with each a new wound did I sustain. I, who have lived for war, who have savored the nectar of conquest, must now pay the final price. But I shall acquit myself as befits a barbarian born. He knows this death is here for him, but he's not afraid to greet it. Though we met as foes upon the field of battle, my heart is heavy within me. When so honorable a life must be lost, we do each become the poorer for it. So again, extending this story beyond where a story would normally wrap up, we're getting the metaphysical, we're learning about some new sort of mythic stuff and about how they deal with death, and then we're also getting this like reckoning, this respect between two enemies who see each other reflected, and who are have this new respect for each other, and sort of being there to help usher somebody into death, and this is a theme that Jack returns to again and again. He is very interested in talking about the rituals of death, how we deal with death, how death and the way we deal with it can give meaning to our life, and what lies beyond. These are the big questions he's pondering, and we see this specific thing approached again and again. We see it with in New Gods with the Source. We see it and we're going to see it really grow here in Thor. This is just like the beginning of sort of an ongoing thematic development within the pages of Thor. Next issue, the Phantoms of Valhalla. And Valhalla is going to be like the big part of it, plunging into that aspect of Norse mythology. Man, what bang for your buck? A kid back in the 60s paying what, 10 cents? 12 cents, getting all of this for 12 cents. Just amazing. What a gift. Like I said, this like generosity of imagination that Jack Kirby has. I'm Tom Scioli, author of Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics. I Am Stan, a graphic biography of the legendary Stan Lee, and Jack Kirby's Star Warriors, The Adventures of Adam Starr and the Solar Legion. I'm also the author of WITCHMAN, a new superhero comic book, which was part of a successful Kickstarter campaign, and I'm currently hard at work completing work on that book to get it out to the generous supporters of that project. I'll see you next Thursday.